my lovely precious crafty friends and family of the internet type place. Hello and welcome back to Inside number 23, my podcast which is all about knitting and sewing and generally living the craftiest life possible. In case you don't know, my name is Katie and you can find me pretty much everywhere on the interwebs as Miss Lavelli, although I'm most active on Instagram, and we do also have a Ravlery group for the podcast which you can find by searching Inside number 23 on the groups tab in Ravlery. That's where you can get involved in giveaways and knit-alongs and all other wonderful things like that. And I know I'm biased, but my lovely people in my lovely group are genuinely the loveliest people in the world, so do head over there and join because you will be in very good company if you do. So welcome back to another episode of Inside number 23. For my long-term viewers, thank you so much for coming back to listen to me rabbit on for another week of crafty goodness. And if this is your first week with us, welcome. I really hope that you enjoy this little bit of time together talking about all the lovely yarny and sewing-y things, and I hope you come back for more. I hope I don't scare you away by my own enthusiasm. I'm coming to you as always from Hertfordshire, which is just north of London in the UK, where I live with my husband Emrys, our pug puppy Rolly, and it's just absolutely wonderful to be back with you for another week. I am so excited, and I actually have a fair amount of stuff to share with you. Every week before I record, I kind of get the fear that I'm not going to have anything to talk to you about, and as always, I underestimate my ability to be able to talk about pretty much nothing. But luckily this week, I actually have some really interesting things to share with you, and I'm excited to crack on, so yay! It's been very busy on my end for the past week. Things are getting pretty hectic at work, and I'm also doing some things with Emrys. He is doing some directing, which very excitingly I am also going to be a part of the play that he is currently directing, and that's going on. That started this week. And it's just been a little bit of a whirlwind. I can't believe that it's a whole week has gone by already and that I'm back here talking to you. But in terms of administration, I don't really have a huge amount to talk to you about this week. However, one of my prize winners from the Harry Potter grand prize drawing of last week has still not got back to me. So if you haven't checked out last week's episode and you did enter for the grand prize drawing, please do check out the episode. I'm kind of hanging fire, sending off the parcels until I have everybody get in touch with me. So it would be really lovely if you are one of my winners, if you drop me an email. Thank you to everybody who has done so already, and yeah, just please, I want to be able to send you your prize. Talking about cows in general, I am hosting another cow on this channel at the moment, the affectionately known as the Wang-along, for the incredible patterns of the incredible designer Michele Wang. That is going on in my Ravlery group at the moment. I currently just have a chatter thread open, and it has all of the details of how to get involved. Basically, you just need to knit one of Michele's beautiful garments. Don't worry about finishing, it's just about working with her patterns and enjoying her marvellousness. So there's no pressure to finish. If you do, obviously fantastic, but don't worry if not. There's already some great conversations going on in the Ravlery group, and I'm so excited that a lot of you seem as into this cow as me, and that's just wonderful. So thank you, and please do keep getting involved. I do have some information about some lovely prizes and things for the cow, but I rather idiotically have left my phone in the other room, and in order for me to get to it I have to kind of climb across a bit of an assault course of my own making with my studio lights and everything and all of the bits around me that I have for the podcast. So I will talk about that in more detail on next week's episode, but there are some really fun prizes and I'm really excited about them, so yay! More on that next week. So I think we should just jump straight in with what I'm wearing this week. I'm not actually wearing anything particularly interesting on the handmade front this week. I am wearing my Agnes top. This top here is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, and it's a really lovely, just simple jersey top pattern. It comes with lots of different variations. You can kind of have ruching detail in the front or in the sleeves, but this is just the plain version in this kind of stripy fabric, which I love. I wear this a lot, although today I do kind of feel like a cartoon of a mime, a cartoon of a stereotypical mime, but there are worse things to look like. So that's my kind of one me-made object of this week. One thing that I did want to talk about, the last time that I wore this necklace in a podcast, my lovely little bee necklace, a lot of you got in touch and asked where it's from. And unfortunately, I don't actually know where this is from because it was bought to me by my lovely husband Emrys as a gift for my birthday. And I believe that he purchased it from an Etsy store. So I think if you go onto Etsy and you just search kind of honeycomb necklace or bee necklace, it comes up. It is laser cut wood, and then this little guy is kind of metallic plastic laser cut on it. And I really, really love it. It's a beautiful piece, and it was a big birthday. It was my 30th birthday, so he thought it would be nice to get me something special. And I love it. So yes, join me in the love of bees in your accessories and in all things in life, because bees are, let's be honest, pretty awesome. I already seem to have gone onto a tangent, so I think I should steer this podcasting vehicle back onto the tracks and talk about what I have been knitting for the past week. I am incredibly excited to be able to share with you the fact that I have not one but 2 knitted finished objects this week. I am so happy about this. I'm going to start with one of them that is technically finished, but it's not finished yet because I haven't woven in my ends and I haven't blocked it, but I am happy to say my forest cardigan is finished, you guys. Oh my goodness. So this is the forest cardigan. This is the first of my Make 9 knitting projects for this year, and I absolutely love it. It is an oversized cardigan that was originally published in an episode of Amarisu magazine, and it is mostly garter stitch, but it has these gorgeous cables that run all of the way down the sleeves, and they are also featured on the pockets. Now, last week I did go into a bit of a mini rant about how I was unhappy with how these pockets are looking, and thank you so much to everybody who messaged me or who commented on last week's episode about things to try for these pockets. I'm going to come back to the pockets in a little bit, but thank you all so much. I genuinely just was grinning from ear to ear most of last week, because as soon as I ask you guys to help with something, I just get so much enthusiasm and solutions, and I was feeling a bit down about this project, and to see so many of you offering support for kind of what I then thought was a problem, like I said, more on that in just a moment, but it was wonderful. So thank you all so much, and yeah, you're all so great, and you're such an incredible resource, and just thank you. Yay. But yes, it's completely finished now in terms of the knitting. I did think that I was going to go a bit loopy because of this neckband, and the funny thing is that it's supposed to be 4 inches, and I think that my neckband has ended up being closer to 5 because I was ploughing through it with such vigour that I didn't even stop to measure it, and when I did I went, oh, I'm ready to cast off. This is kind of amazing. So yes, I have done the neckband, which is what I was kind of complaining about last week, and I am so happy with how this is looking. I mean, it's huge. Let me just show you. It's massive. It's huge. It's so big. I can't even really lift it over my head. That's how big it is. It's ginormous, and I absolutely love it. I cannot wait for this to be blocked. I have tried it on since finishing the neckband. I definitely do need to give this a block because it is, as you can see, pulling up quite a lot on the front, and that would irritate me considerably, so I do need to just give it another quick block. I'll probably only do the neckband, to be honest, and leave the rest as is, but it's so gorgeous, and I can't wait to be able to wear this. It's going to be such a kind of lovely go-to thing, and I know that I'm going to want to wear this at work all of the time. One thing that I would say, I knit the sleeves exactly to specification, and you can see here, I've turned up the cuff. I have long arms. I often compare myself to a bit of an orangutan in the arm department. I have very long arms, and I probably feel more like an orangutan because I am a natural ginger. So of choice, if I was to be a monkey, I would probably, I mean, not a monkey, an ape. Oh goodness. lots of tangents today, but yes, I do kind of have long orangutan arms, and so with sleeves, often when I knit the sleeve to the specification in a pattern, they will come up quite considerably short. They're often kind of just before my wrist bone, before that little knobbly bit of your wrist, and they end up here, and I've got quite long hands as well, so I like things that kind of will come down to about just above where my knuckles are. These sleeves, when they were kind of unfolded, were about down here, which was pretty amusing, I'm not going to lie, particularly for someone who, like I said, is used to everything coming up very short. But I actually looked back at the pictures included with this pattern, and from what I can see, the model has a lot of ease around her arm. Like, the sleeve is not kind of flat on her arm, there's a lot of gathered marks and that type of thing, all up her arm. So I do think that it looks like the sleeves are intentionally supposed to be oversized and baggy, but I'm more than happy to have the little turned up cuff on there. It adds a kind of even more snuggly element to it, and it takes the excess out of the actual sleeve and just puts it all at the bottom. So technically I could go in and undo and re-knit, but I like how it looks with the turned up cuff. And I think you could gather from last week's episode, I was kind of getting to my wit's end with this, so I really don't want to have to re-knit anything if I can. But yeah, in terms of the yarn, this is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes Tweed, and it's in the Autumn Heather colourway, and I love it so much. It's just a magical thing, and I'm so happy with it. It's relatively basic, and I would recommend this as a knit for people who haven't necessarily done a huge amount of garment knitting and would like to get into it, because it's a very intuitive pattern, very simple, and it does knit up very quickly because this is a worsted weight yarn, and oh, it's gorgeous. I found out from another lovely commenter that this wool is in fact non-superwash. They do specify, I have now found out on the Knit Picks website, as to whether you are purchasing superwash or not, and this is non-superwash yarn, the Wool of the Andes Tweed. And yes, what more to say? I did knit this for the commercial yarn along, which is being hosted by one of my bestest buddies, Amy, of the Stranded podcast and Stranded Dye Works, and I'm so glad that I did, because it's just proved to me that sometimes a garment made out of commercial yarn is just as good, if not better, than a lot of indie dyed projects that I have knit on, so yay for that. But oh, a lot of fluff just went up my nose. Oh dear, hopefully I don't sneeze or do anything ridiculous, but yes, just so you're aware, a lot of fluff just went up my nose. But going back to these pockets, as you can see here, the issue with the pockets kind of gaping is still there. They're still gaping when I hold this. However, when I was trying on the cardigan, one thing that I noticed is that with having obviously a body underneath the garment, it created more of a curve, which caused the pocket to sit slightly more flush. And I really didn't mind how it was looking. A lot of you kind of, when you were offering your support, said that you didn't think that it actually looked like a problem, you thought that it looked fine. And I think I might agree with you. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna obviously block the neckband, as I've been talking on and on about. I'm gonna block this, make sure that it's nice and flat, and that my lines are all good, because I like doing that. And just sew in all of my ends, and I'm going to start wearing this without doing anything to the pockets, and I'm going to see how I feel, because at the moment I feel like there's a very good chance that I may be happy with it as is, and if I don't have to fiddle around with it anymore and it can just be finished and I can just enjoy it, that would obviously be the preference. So fingers crossed guys, this will be finished by next week, and I will have been wearing it because I love it. I'm so happy with it, and yay, the first of my Make 9s is done. And this was a pretty big project as well. I have a couple of oversized garments, but this is one of the larger ones, so to already have a lovely big garment off the needles this early in the year is filling me with confidence. So yay, big thumbs up for that. But wait, I do also have another finished object this week, and this was a work in progress last week, and it's now finished, and I'm bitten by the bug well and truly, but you can probably guess what this is going to be. It's my Selbu mittens! Ha ha ha! Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So, in last week's episode, I had finished one of the mittens and I had started work on the second one. I had basically knit the cuff on one of these mittens last week, and now they are both finished. They are not only finished, they are both blocked, and I cannot stress how amazing it is to block a colourwork project, because these are so perfect and so, I keep picking them up and just looking at them because I can't get over how even the stitches look now, how beautiful all of the colour work looks, and these were as lumpy could be before they were blocked, let's be honest. They were not anywhere near as perfect looking as these are now, and in particular I knit these using magic loop, which meant that on either side a lot of my strands, a lot of my floats rather, were quite tight and were kind of pulling on the shape of these, and I was just really worried that they weren't going to turn out as I would like them to. But then just look at them, just look at them. So this pattern is by my lovely friend Ellie, who goes by Skeindeer as a designer and as a podcaster, and these mittens have been knit by pretty much everybody. Everybody has knit these because they are so good at getting you into colour work. I'm actually going to pop them on so that you can kind of see how they look. I believe I knit these on 3.5mm needles. I knit them on my signatures actually, which was nice because I love my one pair of signature needles that were sent to me by a lovely viewer, so thank you. And they were a little bit tight when I finished knitting them, but then I blocked them and they are perfect, they are perfect, they are so perfect and I love them. But you can tell I'm excited about these. I can't get over how amazing they are, and I am 100% addicted to colour work. I'm already have a couple of colourwork sweaters that I'm very interested in casting on at some point, and obviously a lot more of these mittens because I do want to knit every single version of these mittens from the Selbu Mitten Club that my friend Ellie did, just because I love how these have turned out, and I know now that they will make beautiful mittens that I will want to wear all the time. Particularly helpful at the moment because we've had almost snowy conditions here where I'm living, so these will keep my hands toasty warm, and I just love them. I love these colours as well. This yarn is Navia Trio, so it's a DK weight yarn, and it is so nice to work with, but once it's been blocked, how smooth and delicious are these. They're just... So yeah, my second finished object of 2018, and my second part of my Make 9 project. Now technically one of my Make 9 projects for knitting was the entirety of the Selbu Mitten Club, but I count these as a very good start, and if these are the only ones that I get finished, I think I'll let myself off for the entire club, but I am already working on another pair. So I suppose from this we have to move into my works in progress. So works in progress, I am still using this incredible little project bag by Pixie Yarns that I showed off and shared with you last week. Pixie Yarn, apologies, no S on that, but yeah, I love this. It's designed for 2 at a time sock knitting, but I'm finding that it's working perfectly for having multiple skeins of yarn for the colour work that I use. So you'll recognise this yarn if you've been watching for a while, because this is the second set of Navia Trio that I picked up at Wild and Woolly when I went there recently. And I've already started my next pair of colourwork mittens. This work is literally the work of an evening. This is how quickly these knit up. So this is the second one that I have started. I've kind of not gone in order in terms of the mittens that I've picked by which one I would knit next. I just thought that this yarn colour would look really, really lovely in the flower design that Ellie has done, and I'm really loving how pretty it is so far. It's a lot more delicate than my previous one. Obviously this in the grey and the burgundy is quite a different feel to this, but I love that. I love that this is kind of a little like snow mitten and it's all delicate and pretty, and I'm already having a huge amount of fun with this colour work. I'm using the exact same needles that I used for the other set of mittens. Like I said, these are 3.5mm signature needles, which are just perfect for these patterns. I'm going to knit, I think, every single one of these mittens on these needles, just because I love the way that these feel and I love how they work with the yarn. They're not as slippery as a lot of metal needles. They have slightly more grip and I like that a lot. But just so that you can kind of see the difference between my blocked mitten. So this is one that's been blocked, and as you can see there's lots of lovely kind of flat stitches. This is one that's in progress. Now I don't know if you can see that because it's getting a little blown out, but I think you can tell it's pretty lumpy, especially the back. Lots of lumpy stitches in there. But yeah, a little bit of blocking makes a lot of difference, that's all I'm saying. The only other difference that I have made from the previous mittens that I knit is that I added a couple of extra rows of the rib around the bottom of these, just because I like having slightly more grip around the bottom. That's literally the only like change that I've made to the pattern, because the pattern is perfect exactly as it is. I love it, and yeah, it just makes me very happy, and I'm very happy to already have another mitten on the go, because this is just a great project for commuter knitting, considering that I'm not really knitting any socks at the moment, or I'm not knitting any socks. I don't have a single pair of socks on the needles, so this fills that little gap. So hurrah! That is everything that I currently have on my needles this week. So before I go into a little bit of sewing, which I am particularly excited about, I wanted to share a couple of little stash enhancements or owl posts that came my way recently. I'm very, very excited, but one of my bits of owl post has just fallen on the floor, so I'm just going to grab that. So first of all, I was contacted by a really, really lovely pattern producer called How to Do Fashion, and I'm really, really excited about both of these patterns that were sent to me. How to Do Fashion specialises in patterns that are inspired by more vintage styles of clothing, and a few years ago I dressed entirely in vintage. If you don't know, I literally just wore either original vintage clothing or vintage reproduction clothing. I got back into knitting by using lots and lots of vintage knitting books, so books from the 40s and 50s, and I would adapt the patterns. I also used a lot of Susan Crawford's patterns, which are obviously of a similar vein, taking older patterns and making them usable for a modern audience. So that was really my wheelhouse, that was my thing. I feel that my style is still very sympathetic of those styles. Like, I still take a lot from those styles, but my style's definitely evolved since then to kind of be more my own style, which I really like. But I still do love taking little pieces of vintage fashion and incorporating them into my wardrobe with more modern things, and creating a really just something that feels very me. Little bit of backstory there, but basically I was contacted by How to Do Fashion, and they asked if I would like to see any of their patterns in person, if I would like to give them a try, and I was incredibly excited by this. They have a beautiful selection of patterns. I'm going to put their details in the down bar down below, which I've realised I haven't said. All of my show notes for this episode can just be found in the little down bar down here. This is where I'll put details of everything that I talk about, but I will pop down their website there so that you can go and have a look, because I think that in particular a lot of the samples and pictures that they have on their website really, really do capture the style and the feel of their patterns, which is just lovely. but they ended up sending me 2 different patterns. They're called, I'm going to go by number, but I'll also put the name on the screen because, again, I am terrible with names and I know that I will pronounce something horribly. But the first one is number 1. So I've just realised they don't actually have big pictures on the front. They come in these lovely big A4 files, which I love, but I'm going to put pictures on the screen so that you can see the pattern that was sent to me. The first one, number 1, is a dress that has a couple of different bodice versions. I really, really love this. It's quite simple but very classic, and I think it would work quite nicely for a cotton lawn or something like that in the spring. I think it's really, really beautiful and it would be very flattering. And I also think that they have a little free download, a PDF edition, to make kind of little bow ties on the shoulder, which is just adorable. So that will definitely be something for the spring or summer. The second one that I got is number 8, and this is actually kind of a 3-piece. You can make 2 different versions of a top. You can also make a skirt from this, and the reason that this excited me so much is that the top that you can make from it is this beautiful little Peter Pan collared button-down short-sleeved shirt, and a lot of you will know my obsession with the pattern, the Blue dress by Deer and Doe. I have hacked that pattern into a blouse previously, which I love and I wear an awful lot, but this pattern is basically exactly what I want from that hacked version of the Blue dress, but it's already in a shirt format, so I will be definitely using that to make a couple more Peter Pan collar shirts, I think. But I'm really, really excited about using these. I've never used how to do fashion patterns before, so I will definitely keep you guys posted when I do use them. Although they are both kind of more spring-summer looks, so it may be a while before I actually sew one or other of them. But as soon as I do, I will most definitely be sharing the results with you lovely folks. I have one other piece of owl post to share with you this week, and this was a complete kind of surprise from a lovely viewer, and I haven't asked them if I can name them, so I'm not going to say their name specifically, but they sent me a parcel of utter joy this week, and I can't tell you how touched I was to receive this, because it was almost as though this particular person saw that I was having a conundrum and decided to resolve that. Basically, for my Make 9 this year, for my knitting projects, the majority of my Make 9, which, in case you don't know, I never like to assume that everyone knows everything, is just picking 9 different projects that you think you might want to get completed within the year, and I've already picked mine, and I do have a video for both knitting and sewing, which I will link in the notes down below. One of my projects that I did pick is not a garment, it's a shawl. I'm not a huge shawl knitter any longer because I find shawls difficult to wear. I don't tend to wear them a huge amount unless they are heavier weight, and that's why I wear my void shawl all the time. But something in fingering weight, although I love to work on them and I think that they look beautiful, they're not ending up being hugely practical in my wardrobe, which is what my making is essentially for. But one of the projects that I added to Make 9 is the most stunning shawl by one of my dear friends, Becky Sorensen. And Becky, I'm so sorry. You're going to have to teach me how to say this name, but I believe it's the Slandus shawl. But basically it's this beautiful, big, triangular, textured shawl. It's everything that I could want and more. And I talked in my Make 9 video that I had some yarn that I was considering using for it, which is actually down here. It is this lovely Knit Picks wool again. This is Wool of the Andes, heathered colourway, but not the tweed, and it's got fluff on it. But this is the Shire Heather colourway. And I was really considering using this yarn for this shawl, but I wasn't 100% sure. And recently I have been thinking about using this to cast on one of Michel Wang's patterns for the Wang-along. So it basically was going to be without appropriate yarn for my one shawl project of this year when this parcel arrived, and in it was something pretty special, and that is Oh wool. So this is Oh Wool Local. This is the yarn that Becky designed this shawl in, and it is beautiful. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It is organic merino and alpaca, and it's so scrummy and beautiful, and it's also in the colourway Red Squirrel, which Becky used for her original version of this shawl, which I loved. And included in my parcel were 4 skeins of this yarn. I mean, can you even believe how amazing this is? I am so excited, and oh my goodness, I never thought that I would be able to get my hands on this yarn. I looked into it, I really did, because I know that Becky specified that this yarn was very, very special, which is why she used it for the design, but it would have cost so much money for me to be able to kind of ship it over here, and customs and that type of thing, that I just kind of went, probably not going to happen. Plus, I do think that there are some stockists of this in the UK, but the price point is considerably more because it's from America. But I cannot tell you, lovely, lovely viewer who sent me this, how happy this made me. I was having a particularly demanding day at work, and this just made my utter day, so thank you. And I now can't wait to cast on this shawl. I'm so excited. I'm genuinely, if I didn't have so many other projects on the needles right now, this would be getting cast on this second, but I do think I need to put a more serious dent into some of my other works in progress. But be assured, this will be getting cast on very, very soon. I even think I might cast this on to take to Edinburgh Yarn Festival with me to kind of work on the train and that type of thing, because I think it will make me really, really, really happy to do that. Maybe that's a plan. If I don't have it on the needles before Edinburgh Yarn Festival, I think I might cast it on specially for the travel and stuff. But yay, the owls were super busy and made me very, very happy. Thank you so much to everybody who sent me something lovely. It genuinely made my week. Before I sign off, I do have some sewing to share with you again this week. As I was last week, I'm still really, really happy with how my sewing projects are getting on. I find that in the past, I have been either a really keen seamstress or a really keen knitter, kind of one or the other. It's very rare that they tend to kind of pootle along next to each other, kind of with me making progress on both. But over the past couple of weeks, it's been very much that those both different sides of my personality have been happily coexisting together. So I'm really, really happy with that. And excitingly, I actually have a finished object to share with you. And this is a languishing whip finished object, which means that I'm even more ecstatic that it is finally done, and it is not off the needle. So I was going to say off the needle, I suppose off the mannequin, off the sewing machine, something like that. Can you guys think of a better term for when you've, you know, finished sewing a garment? I mean, I suppose off the needle, off the sewing needle, off the I don't know. Again, rambling. But this is a project that I initially started as a part of a make-along, an outfit along, which I believe was being hosted by Andy Satterland, another of my favourite designers. And I created a bit of a pattern hack and started sewing a dress. And as soon as I kind of started working with it, for lots of different reasons, it just wasn't gelling with me. I thought it looked stupid. I thought I'd made a really bad decision making this project. And by all accounts, I was just very, very unhappy with it. And it's been languishing in my sewing room ever since. Now, when I started my Make 9 project for my sewing, I went through all of my sewing stash, all of my fabrics, all of my patterns, everything in this room. And I gave everything a massive sort out. And a lot of my whips kind of came out of the woodwork, and this was one of them. And I realised that I actually didn't need to do a huge amount of work on this dress for it to be finished. So this week I bit the bullet and I took the dress out in its kind of nearly finished state. I tried it on and I thought, this is going to look awful, and surprisingly enough, I actually really liked how it was looking. It definitely needed to be tweaked, which I have now done, but it's finished, and I just finished this today. So long-term viewers of the podcast will recognise this fabric, this incredible fabric, which I believe is from Tokyo originally, but this was a purchase from one of my favourite fabric shops, M is for Make. I did share some fabric last week with you guys from M is for Make as well, but this is this beautiful polka dot, or kind of irregular polka dot fabric, but it's double gauze, and I have made a dress out of it, and it is a pattern hack. It's not one pattern, it's two different patterns combined. So the bodice of this dress is actually from, I believe, Gertie's Book for Better Sewing by Gretchen Hirsch. I don't think it's from one of her other books. I'm pretty sure it's from the first one, but I will check that. But this is one of her bodices from that book. In the original book, it is with a sweetheart neckline, but I turned it into a straight neckline, as is my preference for this kind of dress. And I combined it with the Hollyburn skirt, which is a really, really lovely, I would say, between A-line and 3/4 circle skirt. There's definitely some body to it, but it's not a full circle skirt by any stretch of the imagination. But this week I actually put the zip into this dress. I must say the zip is nothing fancy, nothing really special to look at. I didn't use an invisible zip or anything like that. I literally just used a zip that was in stash because I didn't want to have to wait any longer to, you know, go out and buy a special zip. So I just used this kind of blue one, but it goes with the polka dots, which is fine. And it actually went in relatively well. I don't mind that it's kind of exposed. I kind of like that element to it. Ideally it would be more covered by the fabric, but double gauze is a lovely fabric to work with. Basically the way that it's put together is 2 layers of fabric sandwiched together, and then at little intervals there will be tiny stitches that link both of those layers together. If I can just show you the back of this fabric, you can get an idea of the construction of the double gauze. So if you can see all of these tiny little rows, those are all the stitches that go through both layers of the fabric, holding them together. And what that creates is this lovely, airy, drapey, soft fabric, which is lovely to wear. It feels wonderful, but it is a bit of a bugger to sew, and I think that's one of the problems that I had with it originally, and why it became such a languishing whip, is that I was just really struggling with working with the double gauze. I really think if I were to do this again, I would use something like a walking foot to manage the layers of fabric more, but I just found that whenever I was sewing with this fabric, it was shifting, it was stretching in ways that I didn't like it, and the finished garment definitely leaves a lot to be desired in terms of perfection and little details. But one thing that I've learned from being away from it from such a long time and now finishing it is that I'm really happy with the overall look of the dress, and I can't wait to wear it. I will hopefully get some pictures of me wearing this dress relatively soon that I can share with you, maybe take a little bit of video so you can see it on, but it fits really nicely. And there are some really lovely details which make me very happy, which I'm going to share with you now. The inside is partially lined, it's half lined. So I lined the bodice of the dress in this lovely pink fabric, which I have used quite a few times on the podcast previously, but it's a cotton silk mix. And I also created facings for the inside so that you can't see that lining from the outside, which I really like. I think it's a really lovely detail having that lining in there. In terms of the pockets, I do have pockets in this dress because the Hollyburn skirt has pockets, so very happily I have pockets in this dress. But one thing that I've noticed with my previous Hollyburn skirt is that the pockets stretched out quite a lot during wear. So these pockets are interlined to prevent them from kind of stretching. When I first made this dress, I was really worried that that would give it a horrible heavy look to it, and I wished that I hadn't done it. Now that I finished it, I'm really glad that I did, because I really enjoy how the pockets feel. I think it makes them sit really flat underneath the dress so that you don't get any kind of weird puckering or anything. It just sits really nicely there. And I know that I won't worry about putting things in the pockets because of the double gauze fabric. I think it was a really good call to actually do that. So I'm very, very happy with that too. I just finished this today, like I said, and what I was working on today was actually the hem, and I'm so happy with the hem. I think in a really weird way, the hem of this dress is probably my favourite part of it, and that's because I actually hemmed it with some vintage lace. So I'm gonna see if this will focus properly. Yeah, there you can see it's hemmed in this beautiful soft baby pink lace. I have quite a lot of bias binding and seam finishing notions in my stash. A while ago, one thing that I used to do, and I really should try doing more because you can pick up some really great things, was kind of searching on eBay for vintage sewing supplies and that type of thing. I bought a lot of job lots of notions and bits and pieces from eBay over the years, and sometimes you do end up getting quite a lot of rubbish. You know, if somebody's relative has passed away and they just want to get rid of the sewing stuff, a lot of the time they'll just put it all in a big box and put it up on eBay and sell it. And I have come across some really special things from buying those kinds of lots, and all of these bias bindings and lace finishings were from one of those. They all still came in the original packaging. There were little notes on the packaging basically saying, if you send 3 of our labels and 25 cents to this address of your children sew, we will send them a generous parcel filled with offcuts so that they can make clothes for their dolls and that type of thing. It's so endearing and lovely, and adding a little piece of something like that to my sewing projects just makes it so much more special. But this is a particular favourite seam finish of mine, or hem finish of mine, for a circular hem. And that is to use something like ribbon or lace as the inside finish, and then just very gently use a herringbone stitch, which is this. You can kind of see the teeny tiny little herringbone stitches, to pick up a few tiny stitches from the main fabric and that ribbon or lace that you've sewn on, and it creates a pretty much invisible hem. It's also something that I love to do. I find it incredibly therapeutic, and I just love the finish that it gives to the dress. This is such a soft fabric that a hem would have looked quite unruly, I think, if I'd just sewn it with the sewing machine. So to do it like this, I just end up having this super delicate hem. You can't see any of the stitches, and it adds to the kind of specialness, I guess, for lack of a better word, of the garment. And I'm just really happy with it. It's the fabric in itself makes me happy. It makes me smile, and to have something that's been kind of sitting in the corner of my sewing room for such a long time, for it to be finally finished and kind of out in the world, is a really exciting thing, and I'm really happy to wear it. To be perfectly honest, the way that this has come out, I will most likely wear it with something underneath it in terms of a top. I can wear it with, you know, just a bra underneath it, or if I'm feeling brave, like no bra, or a strapless bra. Stop saying bra. But I can wear it with just the dress. But to make it more multifunctional for things like autumn and winter times, I will most likely wear it with a 3/4 length t-shirt underneath it, or a polo neck I thought would look really pretty. The other thing that I am wanting to do, which I actually talked about on my Instagram stories this week, is I do want to make a belt out of the fabric that I have left, a kind of matching belt to go around the middle. It's another little detail that I just think brings it back to that kind of vintage feel, which will make me really happy. And I do have a couple of vintage belt buckles that would look really pretty on this. I asked you guys whether I should use a mint coloured one or a yellow one, and the general consensus, you were quite split, but I think the majority was for the yellow, and I am a big fan of that one. But what I'll be able to do is, when I start making the belt, I can try on the different colours of buckles and see which one I like the most. But yeah, this just, doesn't it just make you happy? It's one of those things, if I saw someone wearing this fabric in the street, I would smile, and that's how this dress makes me feel. So I'm really happy with it. It's not one of my Make 9 projects. I haven't actually sewn any of my Make 9 projects, even though this is the second dress that I have finished like this year. because actually the third, because I've done 2 Cleo dresses and this now, so that's 3 different sewing projects that I've already done in 2018. So I'm kind of kicking 2017's butt in terms of productivity, but yeah, I'm really, really happy with this, in case you can't tell, in case I haven't said that about 100 times. And yeah, once I have the little belt as well, it'll just be perfect. So yay! Well, that is everything for this week, you guys. Thank you so much for spending some time with me again this week. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, do hit the thumbs up if you would like to. And if you haven't already, do subscribe to the channel, and then you'll be kept up to date as to when we have new content on here. I know I keep saying it, but there are some really fun things that are going to be coming in the near future, and I'm excited about those as well. I'm just excited about everything. But for now, I hope you all have a wonderful week filled with all of the knitting and the sewing and the getting the languishing whips finished, because that's an amazing feeling. But I love you all so much. I'm sending you all the happy thoughts and the good things. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely, lovely week. And I will see you all again really soon. Bye!